Welcome to the most disliked show on YouTube.
First, controlling pharmaceutical cost is a bipartisan issue. It is something that I have focused upon. It is something I'm passionate about. It is not as if you believe in single payer that you're the only folks who care about those issues. I'm a doc. I understand that if somebody can't afford her insulin, that is a problem. Lindsay talked about the profits since Obamacare passed.
Always trust a guy who is this rehearsed.
Insurance companies. You ought to look at the profits for pharmaceutical companies. Was this the solution for those industries?
He said that really sincerely, didn't he?
By the way, as those profits have climbed, so have your premiums. So have the taxpayer outlays. There is a direct relation between you paying more for your premium and the profits those industries are getting. If that is the answer, we got a bad problem. I'll also say about power to the people and power in Washington, D.C. Why did they do so well? Read a book called Bitter Pill. A guy named, I think, Stephen Brill. He talks about how Obamacare was crafted. Everybody was at the table. Pharma, AMA, big insurance, hospitals, but not you and me. And that's why our premiums rise, and that's why our taxes go up. And that's why they do so well. If we give the power back to you, back to the state, that totally changes. And Washington, which is hardwired for them to do well, now has to come to you and get your approval for these things. I'm about you having that power.
Well, I'm glad. I am glad to hear that Senator Cassidy is concerned about the high cost of prescription drugs, because you're quite right.
See how shifty he is? That's a liar.
Major pharmaceutical industries made $50 billion in profit. You got CEOs in the pharmaceutical industry who make millions and millions and millions of dollars in compensation, and 1 out of 5 Americans cannot afford the medicine they need. Are you going to join me in saying that Medicare should negotiate drug prices with the pharmaceutical industry, which is what every other major country on earth does? Are you going to join me in saying that pharmacists should be able to get the same exact medicine in Canada or abroad at a fraction of the price they have to pay for it in this country? Are you on board that legislation?
He refuses to answer. Won't answer the question.
I've heard Bernie say in a VA committee hearing that if we can't afford a medicine, the government should just take over the intellectual property. It should commandeer the manufacturing plants, the distribution chain. It should become the pharmaceutical company. Lindsey Graham is right. Bernie's the most honest person in the Senate. He's a socialist, and he believes it. And he believes that the creativity of the pharmaceutical industry is not important. Oh, we can take that, but where will the cure for Alzheimer's come from? If now when there's a cure, the pharmaceutical company knows that their profit will be commandeered. I can tell you, it's a cheap fix to commandeer. And the price is tremendous. There won't be that cure for Alzheimer's. There won't be that cure for cancer. There won't be because there was a short-term grab. There are solutions, but it is not socialism.
You know, do you think negotiating drug prices through Medicare, which purchases huge amounts of money, is a bad thing? You think it is wrong for pharmacists to be able to buy cheaper medicine, same exact brands, from Canada? Are you going to come on board that legislation? I don't know what you're really talking about taking over drug companies. What we want to do is lower the outrageously high prices in this country. I've given you 2 approaches that can work: reimportation, Medicare negotiating. Are you on board?
Reimportation does not work. Canada has 10% of the population of the United States. You could take the entirety of Canada, shake it like a piggy bank, and all the drugs would come out, and it still wouldn't be enough for us all. There are ways to address this.
I'm the authority on Canada. I can see Canada from my porch. Okay? And I can tell you that the drug prices in Canada are half what they are in our country. And that's why Bernie's been involved in this. Lindsay's good friend, my good friend, Senator McCain, has a bill with me that would allow for this reimportation to bring in less expensive drugs. It has strong bipartisan support. Senator Collins is supportive of this bill. So that's what we'd like to work on. Things like that. the Medicare Part D negotiation. I worked in the private sector. I'm no socialist, okay? And what I want to see is more competition. That's what this is about. By either having competition with generic companies and stopping them from paying each other off, or having competition with drugs from other countries, because that is the only way we're going to bring these prices down right now. 4 out of 10 of the top 10 selling drugs in America have gone up over 100% in just the last few years. Insulin up 3 times. Naloxone up over 100%. That's a drug that you use for opioid overdoses. This epidemic that's sweeping our country, and they have the gall to increase the prices of that drug like that. We have to take on the pharmaceutical companies strong.
Senator Graham, there's rare agreement on an issue. So if I'm at home watching, I'm saying, okay, so why can't they at least get this done?
Well, the one thing I want you to all know, that we started talking about Obamacare and why it was failing, and we spent most of our time on pharmaceutical companies. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you they're not really explaining why Obamacare is failing. They don't have any ideas to fix it. It's all about something else. So let's talk about our idea to fix it. Our idea is to take basically the same amount of money we would spend on Obamacare, give it to a bureaucrat you'll never meet or know, who could care less about you, and block grant it back to the states in a fashion to give it to people closer to where your daughter lives, and you can have a say about what they do for your family and their guardrails. You can't build football stadiums with it. You can't build roads and bridges. You got to spend it on health care. This worked in welfare reform in 1996 when 74 United States senators said, let's take welfare and block grant it back to states and see if they can do a better job. Since 1996, we hadn't had 1 penny increase because they did a better job. I'm confident. I am very confident if you get the money and power closer to the patient, you'll get a better outcome than what we have today. Because what nobody wants to talk about on this side is how to fix it.
Yeah, Bernie just created a Medicare bill. He hasn't been talking about how to fix it, whereas your bill was just a tax cut for the richest people.
They want to talk. Let's talk about pharmaceuticals. The idea of Medicare maybe negotiating a better price, Bernie, that might actually be a good idea. The idea of re-importing drugs to the country from foreign countries, I don't know. Let me think about that. John McCain says it's a good idea. The one thing I do know, that Obamacare is going to fail, and Bernie's solution is more government, not less. I don't see how in the world that Medicare is going to survive for the next generation unless we reform it now. I'm willing to pay more in Medicare premiums. I'm willing to not take a dime in subsidy because when I retire, I'm going to do well. I got a military retirement, a congressional retirement, and I think I should pay more into Medicare, and I think I should take less in Social Security because when I was 22 years old, we needed every penny
Senator,
coming into my family. Wait, please. So here's the deal. It's about Obamacare failing. And Chuck Schumer said tonight to Republicans, don't even come into the room until you take repeal off the table. Don't even come into the room unless you take repeal off the table. That's a good negotiation if you believe in Obamacare. But if you believe like I do, there's no amount of money in the world to save it, then that means you're just doubling down on a system that you've invested in. You've told us all you could keep your doctor if you like it, you could keep your coverage if you like it. Well, it's not working, and it's never going to work, and I'm not going to spend more money, good after bad, fixing the system that can't be saved. We need to find a better way.
Senator Sanders, would you like to respond? Senator Sanders, he invoked Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders, would you like to respond since Senator
Y'all
Graham
don't have any
invoked-
commercials?
Well, I would just, first of all, when you ask the American people about whether or not they like Obamacare compared to your plan, overwhelmingly the American people like the Affordable Care Act.
How many people know
Second
who
of
Graham
all,
Cassidy are?
one second. Second of all, it is easy to beat up on big, bad federal government. Guys, do you know what the most popular health insurance program in America is? It's not the private insurance industry. It is
Medicare.
Medicare, yeah. That's big,
Which is falling apart.
Senator Cassidy and I are both on the Veterans Committee. Go out and talk to veterans. And what the polls show is that veterans are very, very positive toward the VA. Doesn't have problems, God knows it does. But veterans feel very good about it. In fact, it's the second most popular health care program in the country. Okay? So the point is, it's easy to say Obamacare isn't perfect. Everybody knows that. But the truth is that what people in this country see is a health insurance system designed to make insurance companies and drug companies huge profits. They want a cost-effective system that, in fact, deals with the needs of our people and not just the CEOs of large corporations. And that is why I personally believe, that if Medicare is working well for seniors right now, we can make it work for every man, woman, and child in this country through a Medicare for All program. Forget that 20 million Americans today have health insurance who previously did not. Now, these guys say, well, the governors, they're not going to do the wrong thing. Before the Affordable Care Act in South Carolina, I suspect, and in 42 other states, guess what rules there were with regard to pre-existing conditions? There were none. There were none.
It's true all over the country.
And 43 states had no rules. 7 states did. Okay? So that's what the governors and the state legislatures did. The truth of the matter is the Affordable Care Act has done some very important things. Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. What the American people want is not their proposal. Poll came out today. 20% of the American people think your idea is a good idea. What the American people want is us to work together to build on and improve the Affordable Care Act, not repeal it.
Please remember to subscribe and hit the dislike button at the bottom of the page.